I'm scared, guys. I got told every time the monkey claps, somebody dies. Oh, not this monkey. That one. What the heck? The Monkey is the latest Stephen King adaptation directed by Osgood Perkins. We follow twin brothers who discover a toy monkey left behind by their father. Unfortunately, they discover this is not an ordinary toy monkey, as every time they wind it up, people around them begin to die. And that's all pretty much. Not gonna be spoilers to you guys. This will be a spoiler-free review. Dude, can we just take appreciation that this small little neon movie made on a budget of $10 million got this awesome popcorn bucket? Nah, if you go see this movie, whether you like it or not, I think we could all agree the monkey in the movie is pretty detailed and creepy. I know watching the movie myself, I was like, I'd love to own that monkey, and I have him. But back to the movie The Monkey. So this is directed by Osgood Perkins, and he's someone that's starting to become very popular in the horror sphere, mainly because of the big boom his movie Longlegs got last year. They had an awesome marketing campaign. A lot of people were branding it the scariest movie of the year, and unfortunately, when I saw the movie, I was one of the people that didn't love it as much as everybody else. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a great looking movie with some really nice performances. I just didn't end up connecting with the story and the overall plot that the film had. So even though I didn't love that movie as much as other people, when I saw that director was making another film, a Stephen King adaptation based on this creepy toy monkey that we all saw clapping in Toy Story, and that the film would take a lot of inspiration from something like Final Destination, I was like, oh, I am so in. And so having sat down, watched The Monkey, I can honestly say I loved half of this movie. Let me get into the good, then I'll tell you what I didn't love. As with Longlegs and now The Monkey, Osgood Perkins, this director, continues to prove his talents in the horror sphere. Because while this film leans way more into the comedy than horror, the early setup with this monkey and just the tone really drew me into this film because the movie has a narrator. And while I think it would be more appropriate to, connect it to something like Stand By Me, another Stephen King adaptation, there was a real part of me that was just loving the voice narration done by Theo James, who plays the older version of the twin boys, because for some reason it struck a nostalgic chord in me and just reminded me a lot of The Sandlot. I know that's gonna be like a weird, odd thing, but I think if you're someone who loves The Sandlot, those narration scenes are kind of comforting, and in this movie, I just liked that added factor in this.
For the longest time, there was nothing.
When getting on to the monkey itself, like I was saying, I love the design, look, and everything that went about it. Some of you might have seen this little fact involved with the movie that is supposed to originally be a monkey with two cymbals on its hands that go clapping, but Disney actually trademarked that version of the toy monkey whenever Toy Story 3 came out, so they weren't allowed to use it for this horror movie, switching out the cymbals for a drum. And honestly, I think that worked in their favor. There's a really cool little routine that goes down once you wind up the monkey and then he starts drumming that I just don't think would have been as satisfying as the two cymbals clapping and then people dying. And although this is a horror movie and there are definitely some horrific things and bloody kills that go down, I was quite enjoying the comedy for the first half of the movie. I remember a lot of people kind of complaining that Longlegs ended up being more funny than scary, especially like in his car scene when he's yelling out, "Daddy! Mommy! Daddy! Mommy!" And it's that weird, eccentric, awkward humor that I thought Osgood Perkins has something there, and if you loved that little scene, basically, The Monkey is all of that. It has such a dark humor to it that I thought was just really making this a strong movie where I was like, dude, this is gonna end up being probably my favorite horror movie of the year with just the way they're able to balance out some of this really dark, morbid humor with these gory kills. I like this that they're setting up. And heck, even on that note, the kills, that's probably my favorite part of this movie. Yeah, it's got kind of those Final Destination vibes, but even compared to some of the later Final Destination movies, it's way more exaggerated. There's literally a scene of someone exploding as soon as they touch water, and it feels almost like a SpongeBob skit. There are genuinely a couple kills in the movie that had my eyes open, hand on my mouth going, oh, dude. And that's just where most of my enjoyment of this movie was coming in, until we got to the halfway mark. Everything I thought was going really solid and great. I was even enjoying the story direction with these twin brothers. Real hats off to Theo James, who did a fantastic job with the two adult brothers, and even Christian Convery, who played the younger versions of the twin brothers. Good performances all around. I don't think there's a bad actor in the bunch, especially like Tatiana Maslany as the mother of the boys was awesome. I would just say more people like Rowan Campbell, who some of you might remember as Corey Cunningham in Halloween Ends. Not that he's a bad actor in this, but I think he was definitely given some weird material where he couldn't excel as much as he probably wanted to. But back to what I was getting at with my issue with this, the comedy and the bloodiness was all going well. The mystery and aspect involved with this monkey, I also was loving the direction, and it just feels like it takes a turn going, all right, this ain't a horror movie no more. It's just a straight up joke, silly mess of a film. And that's where it just started going downhill for me. Things that were kind of silly and were just a funny little gag ended up becoming so much more amplified. And I know some people might love that chaos or think like, no, that's what made this fun. I think it kind of really took away from some of the darker things happening in this film, because in a horror movie, when things get that silly and jokey, you just no longer start to care for when bodies start flying. And that really started to be the case for me when, even in the movie itself, while I'm waiting for the monkey to do more crazy horrific kills and see how it plays out, there's just a segment in the film where it's just a montage of random kills with strangers and people you don't know, which, yeah, are fun to see, but it kind of started to cheapen the movie and feel just random and like anything could happen and nothing really matters. I started to disconnect with the movie even further when we unravel the plot of who's currently holding the monkey. The reasons for it, I think, are really strong, but you start to find out certain characters kind of revolve their entire lives over this monkey. And while their obsession, like I said, is warranted and understandable, just their overall plan and the way it goes through really started to feel like we were just in a completely different movie than where we started off. And that's even where I think some of the messaging and themes of the movie get muddled with all the exaggerated silliness, because it seems pretty clear as the movie goes on, the monkey in a way is supposed to represent generational trauma. I mean, the movie literally opens up with this monkey being obtained by the father of the boys, and the father then passes that down to the kids, and then they grow up and that monkey inadvertently ends up going to their children. And there's even other characters in the movie where they have like a fatherly attachment to this toy, and I thought that was kind of a strong theme and a really clever way to represent the monkey throughout the movie. But all that messaging just gets lost in the last act, and just the visuals and the way the world even looks in the last 5 minutes, I'm like, this feels like somebody that was taking their time writing a really cool essay for a school project. Then you realize, oh, dang, class starts in 10 minutes. Let me just make up some BS. Everything I was setting up and getting put together, we'll just wrap it up really quick in a weird way. I don't think that makes me hate the film or I dislike it. There's still a lot of really strong moments, and I still really like Osgood Perkins as a director. I'm just waiting for that film of his where I love 100% instead of going, I like this, really didn't like that. So I don't know, somewhere in the middle. I'm not tapping out on the Perkins train yet. I think whenever he gets announced for his next project, still gonna be in line, still gonna be open-minded and excited. But now with these two movies of Longlegs and the Monkey, I'm definitely noticing a pattern in the way I love the look of his movies. I love the vibe, the atmosphere, the characters, the plot, and then once we get halfway through the films, it just loses me and becomes something I'm no longer that interested in. So when it comes to the Monkey, I'm gonna give action 2 stars. There is a decent amount of kills throughout the movie. I do dislike how a good chunk of them were done in montage form with just random nobody characters, but that is where most of the action in the movie comes in. Comedy in the film, I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars. This would have been really close to a 3, maybe a 4-star for me, but the comedy just gets so overbloated towards the later half of the movie. It starts really diminishing the horror aspects and even the tone that they perfectly established. Drama in the film, I will give it 3 stars. I did still enjoy aspects of the story and where they were headed with these two brothers. I don't think they quite nail the landing on the end ending for their story, but it was still an interesting journey to follow nonetheless. Horror in the movie, I'll give 2.5 stars. Too early on in the film, I am really in suspense with this monkey and who it's going to target next. The mystery of it all, I like they didn't really go into its origin or where it came from. Keeping it a mystery was a lot more better for me, but again, a lot of that horror factor gets ruined by the end of the movie. And suspense of the film, I am going to give it 3 stars because every time that monkey is cranked up and it does its thing, hitting the drums and the music is playing, you are curious, who is it going to target next and how are they going to die? Casual moviegoers into the monkey, I'm going to give it a C+. Cinephiles, I'm going to give it a B-. And critically, I'm going to give it a B-. While I am 50-50 on the monkey, there is still enough really good, awesome moments that I think pushes it in a more positive direction for me, where I say it's worth watching in theaters. I think really just tame expectations for the overall plot and where it ends up, and really just be there to have a good funny time. I've already seen some of the discussions online and people are pretty divided on whether they love or just did not connect with the movie. I'm going to be very curious to hear from you guys on what you thought worked in this film, what you think it could have done better. I know we live in a world of either it's amazing or it's crap, but I'm like, sometimes there's like an in-between slot. That's kind of where the monkey fits in for me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.